You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Good afternoon or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending upon, of course, where you're at, West Coast or East Coast. First thing I want to get out of the way here is we now have a website. That's right, on the World Wide Web. You know, the www dot stuff that you hear all the time. I'm going to give you the address. We just got a call just a few minutes before going on the air. And to tell you the truth, I have not seen it yet. So if you go into the website during this broadcast, you will see it before I do. I wished I could see it right now, but I cannot, at least for another 2 hours. So here it is. This is the website, www.telepath.com/BELIEVER. That's http://www.telepath.com/believer. One more time, http://www.telepath.com/BELIEVER. Okay, so you can zip in there and take a look and see what you see. And later on this afternoon, when I get off the radio, I'll go in there and see what you saw. It should be fun. I hear that it's really nice, and I can't wait to see it. So, folks, while you're doing that, we'll be doing this. Don't go away. I'll be right back. listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. I guess now that we're on for 2 hours, it should be the hours of the time. But since we come into each hour as a new hour, we'll keep it as the hour of the time. Does that make sense to anybody? I hope so. I hope it makes sense, because it's not good to change the name of a broadcast in midstream. The music you just heard is a little bit on the spiritual, as they call it, side. Maybe a little mysterious. Do you think? You think you could say that it is intriguing? Does it appeal to some part of you that you wish you could dig down and really find? They call music, or I should say I call music, that affects people in that manner, Jungian, or symbolic. It is functioning in an archetypical way, which means that it strikes a chord within each human being usually without fail. Those of you who have studied psychology and have studied Jung and his system of archetypes, which are supposed to be, so he says, common to all people, even though they may speak another language or live on some island somewhere and has never had contact with the rest of the world. And so the secret societies say that their method of symbolism, their secret or esoteric language, functions in much the same way. Ladies and gentlemen, recently you have noticed a proliferation of symbols appearing on the landscape all across the United States that to the average person, or what those adepts within the secret societies call the profane, that's us folks, should not be there, or really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, what is a huge, gigantic pyramid doing in Memphis, Tennessee, or in Las Vegas, Nevada, are cropping up as capstones on the tops of buildings all across America, skyscrapers? Why is it that in parks and in industrial complexes and on the lawns of great corporations all of a sudden are springing up obelisks? And if you drive through great cities like Atlanta, Georgia, the proliferation of the symbology of the ancient mystery religion of Babylon is staggering. Where has it all come from? What is going on? What is this all about? Did all of a sudden everybody develop a great penchant for Egyptology? I don't think so. In fact, I know so. They have not. It is the manifestation of the public unveiling of the people who belong to the mysteries, the hidden fraternity, what they call the Brotherhood of Man, the Order, the Illuminati, as they watch the culmination of the progression of their work through the centuries, as the New World Order struggles to be born. Wow, did I just say all of that? Where did all of that come from? It comes from years of study, ladies and gentlemen, years and years of research. You see, there was a time that I didn't know anything any more than most of you listening. I didn't know what was happening to this country or to the world. I didn't know who was doing it. I didn't know how they were doing it. When I went to a cemetery and saw that a full 1/3 of the gravestones were obelisks, capped with a stone version of the eternal flame, I had never paid it a thought. I thought maybe this was in the tombstone maker's showroom, you know, that you could just stroll through and, hey, that looks nice. Let's put that on Uncle John's grave. I didn't understand that it doesn't appear on the grave of just anybody, and it doesn't just appear in the stone maker's showroom. These things, for the most part, are special ordered for the adepts, the priests of the mystery religion, of the brotherhood, of the fellow travelers of the world who are engaged in the, quote, great work, end quote. Tonight I'm going to acquaint you with the identity and the source of most of this stuff. Where does it come from? It comes from the symbology, the mystical language, the esoteric teachings of an ancient religion that has been passed down from father to son and mother to daughter throughout the ages, throughout the millennia, all working toward one common goal, and they are pretty near the completion of that goal, which is to establish what they call a benevolent dictatorship, ruled, so the public will think, by a Messiah, which will be presented to them, to take the public credit and the public ire, but that person will just be a puppet controlled from the shadows by a, quote, council of wise men, end quote, who will administer the most terrible justice, they call it, that the world has ever known, so that their rule will never be challenged. They're in the process of creating a one-world totalitarian socialist state. The regions of the world that you have heard Jackie Petrou talk so much about will become the states of this world government. The states as you know them now in countries will disappear. Borders will come down. And that's happening through such things as NAFTA and GATT and a lot of other treaties and international agreements of which you know nothing about. They will control all people and all property, all transactions, all intercourse of every kind, all communications, all knowledge. They will rewrite history. And anyone who challenges their rule, once that rule is set in stone, will just simply disappear from the face of the earth. Communism sprang out of this brotherhood, was invented by the brotherhood. One of the manifestations of this order was the old Knights Templar, which was, ladies and gentlemen, communism. The symbol of the Knights Templar were two knights riding on one horse. You see, when an initiate joined the Templars, he had to give up all worldly possessions to the order. He contributed according to his ability, and he received according to his need. Nothing has changed. The Knights Templars became the world's first international bankers. And that's why the King of France turned against them. He owed them so much money, he couldn't pay it back. So his answer was to destroy them. In the act of attempting to destroy them, which he was not able to do, he made them extremely angry, and they went underground and established a system of lodges which ultimately became the modern fraternal order known as Freemasonry, and many others. It matters not what you call them or what apparent occupation they seem to be engaged in. All of these different so-called fraternal orders are interlocked and are virtually the same order at the highest degrees of initiation. They are what is known as the Illuminati, or the illumined ones, the adepts, the 1,000 points of light. That wasn't something George Bush or his speechwriters just pulled from out of the ether, ladies and gentlemen. These people don't go about bandying such terms. They have meaning. George Bush was initiated into the order in the crypt, the Skull and Bones, the Russell Trust at Yale University, when he suffered a symbolic death, placed in a coffin, naked, with a cord tied around his genitalia, representing the separation from the carnal world, and then was raised with the grip of the lion's paw and given a new name. George Bush spent most of his life as a Central Intelligence Agency operative, was heavily involved in the invasion of the Bay of Pigs and the John F. Kennedy assassination. It was George Herbert Walker Bush who set up the drug smuggling operations into this country when he was president and CEO of Zapata Oil, where the drugs were brought in on shrimp boats and fishing boats to the offshore oil platforms, and from there brought to the mainland of the United States of America by crew boats and helicopters, where they were not subjected to customs or law enforcement inspections of any kind. That was just the beginning. Communism, ladies and gentlemen, has been a vital factor in American politics since the very birth of our republic. In the early days, communism was called Illuminism. They were called Jacobins. It was promoted and propagandized by a secret conspiratorial organization that was named the Order of Illuminati. And this is not conjecture, it is historical fact. It was dedicated professedly to bringing about a new social order, our New Deal. But actually, ladies and gentlemen, its purpose was to overthrow governments throughout the world by revolution and to gain for its bosses worldwide dictatorship, one world, with everyone and everything under the control of the order. And you can sit back and yell conspiracy theorist all you want to. It is the nature of man to conspire. It is the nature of organizations to conspire. The President and the White House just recently acknowledged this as they issued a press release accusing the right wing of conspiring in the press against the President. President William Jefferson Clinton is a conspiracy theorist by his own definition now. The left, socialist liberals who have been calling us conspiracy theorists for all this time are now conspiracy theorists themselves. The truth is, ladies and gentlemen, conspiracy is a part of all political processes, all organizations and agendas that have ever existed upon the face of this earth. Many of you conspire with your fellow workers against other fellow workers in order that you get promotions above and ahead of them, or bonuses, or recognition, or the best real estate deal. Conspiracy is a part of life. It is a fact, whether you like it or not. If you have a dictionary, I suggest that you look up the word conspiracy, look up the word theory, and then begin to screw your head on straight and live in the real world. Because this conspiracy that I am talking about tonight is one of the most deeply rooted American political traditions that has ever existed. The members of the organization were as fanatic in their zeal as their followers, present-day communists. This fanaticism was passed down from generation to generation, much like any other religion, for in fact it is a religion practiced behind closed doors in temples without windows. As a result, the Illuminist, Socialist, Communist creed was handed down from father to son, mother to daughter, and it became a tradition in many old American families, in much the same manner as the traditional adherence of many of those families to the Masonic order, or the Presbyterian Church, or Catholicism. Most people belong to the religion that they attend because their parents did. Most people are Democrats because their parents were, and for no other reason. And you all know that. This explains the preponderance of its adherents on the present political scene. There is no difference between the Republican and Democratic Party in Washington, D.C., in the United States of America today. Not one nickel's worth of difference, ladies and gentlemen. Doesn't matter who you vote for, they're all operating for the same end. World socialism. Clinton Roosevelt, a relative of Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Teddy Roosevelt, wrote a book called Science of Government Founded on Natural Law. It is of high significance in American history because it is the cornerstone of this traditional creed. It was plagiarized from the teachings of Adam Weishaupt, with slight modification to adapt it to the American scene by his ranking American disciple, Roosevelt. It presents the organizational aspects of the conspiracy, and it is the original blueprint of the New Deal. And it's NRA, and I don't mean National Rifle Association. It is, ladies and gentlemen, indeed astonishing that a historical document of its importance and its background history has suffered so complete a blackout as to be practically unknown to contemporaries in whose lives it has played so large a part. Most Americans, unfortunately, do not read anymore. Instead, they watch the big brainwashing tool in their living room. Adam Weishaupt was the scion of a traditionally Catholic Bavarian family that ranked high in the church educational circle. He was trained by the Jesuits. Thanks to the influence of his family in Jesuit circles, Weishaupt was made professor of canon, which is church law, canon law, at the Ingolstadt High School at the age of 24 years. Now, in those days, ladies and gentlemen, high school was really university. At the age of 24 years, pretty young, wouldn't you say? In the course of his training, Weishaupt had conceived a paranoid hatred of the faith of his forebears. This led him to the insanely grandiose scheme of destroying the Catholic Church and of taking over the Holy Roman Empire and the world in a one-world, absolute dictatorship which he hoped would be dominated by himself. In fact, he planned that it would be, if he lived that long. But he taught that it might take hundreds of years in order to complete this conquest of the world, and he trained his followers and taught them a religion that even if they knew they would not see the completion of their goal in their lifetime, they would still struggle toward that end, believing that they would come back in another body, reincarnated, and would ultimately see the fruition of their great work, so to speak. On May the 1st, or May Day of 1776, at the age of 28, Adam Weishaupt founded a secret society for the purpose of carrying out his revolutionary conspiracy. He named it the Order of Perfectibilists. Weishaupt pretended that his objective was a new social order and social security for the people that was to be obtained by perfecting human nature. It was, in fact, a humanist religion. The name of the organization he changed shortly after its founding to the Order of Illuminati, with the implication that its members were enlightened, free, or, quote, liberal, end quote. The term liberal has since then been reserved for those who accept Weishaupt's ideas, which he teaches to his followers will be the culmination of the great plan, after which the happiness of man will be assured, fulfilled. Weishaupt, you see, was a master propagandist and realized that liberal, as applied to his conspiracy, would become accepted because a lie repeated often enough comes to be believed. You see that happening every day. How many times did they repeat the same lie over and over and over again on the communist news networks? How many times did they do it after the bombing of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City? For days and for weeks and for months, we heard the same lies over and over and over again until the majority of the sheeple in America believed it. It works. If you tell somebody the same lie over and over and over again, even though they know it is a lie, ultimately they will come to believe it. Or I should say most people will come to believe it, not all. But most are psychologically set up to fall right into it. The extent to which this was accomplished, ladies and gentlemen, is indicated by the fact that the day on which he founded the order, May Day, is celebrated throughout the world by liberals, radicals, revolutionaries, and labor organizations in recognition of the fact that it was the mother of all revolutionary organizations dedicated to class warfare in the modern era. You see, it was his idea to wipe out the ruling class, to wipe out the middle class. In fact, to bring society to one class and one class only, to eliminate the ownership of all property, and much, much more. Adam Weishaupt, in the modern day, was the father of socialism. Now, socialism was not new in his day, and he certainly did not invent it. It was the cause of the fall of the Roman Empire. Although you won't find anyone who tells you that, if you read history, that if you have a brain, you will arrive at that conclusion for yourself. Rome began as a republic, descended into oligarchy. From oligarchy rose dictatorship. The dictator then became God. The God, in order to appease his people, began to hand out favors and benefits. And to pay for these favors and benefits, the empire had to always be expanding into new territory to bring in new materials, new trade items, new slaves. And ultimately, it was the rampant degradation of the human condition brought about, as it always brings it about, socialism, that brought down the Roman Empire. You can listen to them tell you that it was many of hundreds of other things, but it was socialism, ladies and gentlemen, that did it. Weishaupt pretended that his objective was a new social order and social security for the people that was to be attained by perfecting human nature. He was a master propagandist. The task that he set for himself was twofold. First, it was destroying the prevailing order. Second was building up a worldwide dictatorship. The first task required the reduction of the peoples of the world to serfdom by inducing them, ladies and gentlemen, to renounce their allegiances and wealth, or by robbing them of their possessions and usurping power over them. To bring about renunciation of wealth, as in the rest of the conspiracy, Weishaupt unhesitatingly adopted the devices tried and proved by the very religions that he denounced and sought to destroy as rivals for the mastery of human minds. He proclaimed that, and I quote, "Man is fallen from a condition of liberty, equality, and the state of pure nature. Man is not bad except as he is made so by arbitrary morality. He is bad because religion, the state, and bad examples pervert him," end quote. He therefore required abandonment of all the trapping of civilization, the destruction of religion, of family life and parental discipline, and of all existent governments, and that is what you see going on around you today. And he denounced ethics and morality as a violation of reason and natural law. If it feels good, do it. Yeah, I want to kill that person over there. Okay, it's a learning experience. You'll learn something, and the guy you killed's going to learn something too. And in the next life, the whole human race will benefit from that. He was a propagator of blathering bullshit, and that's the truth, ladies and gentlemen. But so many people fall for this blather, this pablum, because it makes them feel good. It makes them not responsible. It makes all the measly little nitpicking, bad and puny, mean and selfish things that people do okay. And that's why people buy into it. He denounced ethics and morality as a violation of reason and natural law, without man having to answer to a higher self and adhering to morals as a guidance of society. Then everything becomes subjective, ladies and gentlemen, and is prey to the process of rationalization. The most heinous serial killer who butchered and then ate his victims could rationalize why he was right in doing so. Without the restraints of moral values, anything is okay in a subjective world. That is why our society is disintegrating, because we are living in that subjective world brought about by liberals who adhere to Adam Weishaupt's teachings. He was a sick man. He created an order of sick people to bring about the condition of a sick world in order to divide and conquer those of a moral nature, to bring about his totalitarian socialist world government, the enslavement of the human race. For after everything disintegrates into chaos, his order then will bring forth order. Amazing, isn't it? I'll continue right after this. of the time, I'm William Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, we're brought to you by Swiss America Trading in Phoenix, the people who specialize in real money. In all of its various forms, precious metals have always been recognized throughout the history of the world as the only real money. And wherever that kind of a hard money system has existed, people have flourished. Trade has flourished. Civilization has reached its highest peak. Whenever paper has taken the place of real money, hard assets, real gold, real silver that has intrinsic worth in and of itself. When paper has replaced those things by masquerading as money, civilizations have declined or disappeared. People have lost their wealth. Wars have flourished and been fought. We are in one of those downward cycles, ladies and gentlemen. Our currency has been debased. Our coinage has been debased. We are not using constitutional, lawful money. In fact, we have no money at all. We have counterfeit paper, which is, in fact, just an indication that somebody owes somebody else something, but it's not a note, as it says. It's not a dollar, as it says. It's not federal, as it says, and there is no reserve. And the quickest way to figure it all out is just lay a $1 bill next to a $100 bill and tell me, why is that one worth 100 and the other one worth 1? Tell me. You cannot. It defies reason. You see, it's a state of mind. When we've reached the point where we're exchanging pieces of paper, and the only difference between them is the ink upon that paper, for things of value, we are being robbed, ladies and gentlemen. Because those pieces of paper are created out of thin air. As long as they do not have to have something of real substance backing them up, they can be printed and put into circulation at will, as much as they want. It's usually lent into circulation as credit or debt. And then when somebody can't make the payments, real property is confiscated as collateral, and so the nation is robbed of its real wealth, which is transferred into the hands of those who create the credit out of thin air with a bookkeeping entry. Most people don't understand it at all. And that's why I have pledged that at least once or twice a month I will play Wake Up America by Stephen Jacobson to make sure that everyone at least has a chance to learn the truth about money. If you'd like to get your hands on some real money, and I suggest that you do, not as an investment to make a big killing, but just to protect the assets that you have gained throughout your working life. The value of gold and silver fluctuates as the value of the dollar fluctuates. And I'm talking about the paper so-called dollar, which is really not a dollar. It's counterfeit. As they put more of it in circulation, its value decreases and the value in gold and silver goes up. As less of it is in circulation, the value of it increases in your mind. It's all in your mind, and the minute that that becomes obvious to everyone, the value will disappear. Then the value of gold and silver goes up. So don't ever think for 1 second even about the fluctuation of the value of gold and silver. It is maintaining a constant level of buying power based upon the confidence in that piece of paper. If the piece of paper falls, the price of gold and silver will go through the roof and you will lose nothing. Nothing. You see, 1 ounce of gold will still buy the same number of loaves of bread today as it did 1,000 years ago. Call 1-800. That you're a steady listener to the Hour of the Time. Ask for the free newsletter. Do it now. Ask them how you can get your hands on some real money, ladies and gentlemen. Don't procrastinate. Really. You need to do this. And you need to do it as quickly as you can. It is important. It's important for you and for your loved ones. 1-800 now. Many people don't know it because they haven't studied history, and those who do not study history are doomed to repeat it. They're not aware that the same occultism, the same New Age babble that is occurring in America today and all over the world was rampant in the 1930s as Hitler was rising to power. Hitler believed in the same religion as Adam Weishaupt, and he required that all of his officers of the SS go through a secret initiation at a castle placed upon a hill where they would become adepts. Hitler spoke of communing with spirit guides. He said that he had seen the new man and that he was increpid and cruel. And under this religion, of course, he would be with no moral or ethical guidance whatsoever. Hitler displayed upon his flag and upon the uniforms of his officers and men the swastika, which is the symbol of this ancient religion, has always been, and is the symbol of the object of the exoteric worship of the enlightened, the sun, the eternal flame, the representation of the source of light, illumination, the Illuminati. Isn't that amazing? Many people who grew up in Germany as Hitler was coming to power, and even after he had gained power over Germany and had begun his war on the European continent, have called me and informed me that they see the same things happening in America that happened in Germany during that time. And we hear people telling, on television and on radio about how if they had known, if they had watched the signs and had known what was coming, they could have stopped it. Yet the same thing is happening here today. Not only are they seeing it, but they are accepting it just as the Germans did then, because it sounds good and it feels good to these ninnies who don't want to be responsible for anything. Hitler was a socialist, ladies and gentlemen. Hitler was a liberal. Nazi, doesn't matter how you pronounce it, and there are There are many who use both of those different forms. Means literally National Socialist German Workers' Party. The battle for Germany in the 1930s was not left against right, ladies and gentlemen. It was socialism against communism. It was the Illuminists against Karl Marx. It's as simple as that. Never mind the fact that Illuminism always deteriorates into communism wherever they take charge. It is just a fact that you cannot descend into socialism without falling away ultimately into the communist experiment. Never mind the fact that it has never worked. But all of these things were the invention of the Illuminists to begin with, in order to bring about their socialist world. Socialism is a form of entrapment, enslavement, if you will. Euphemistic though it may be, it is still enslavement. When you live in your father's house and you accept his food, and you accept the shelter, the roof over your head, and you sleep in his bed, you must obey his rules. Have you forgotten that? Whether it is your human biological father, or whether it is Big Brother the state as your father, the rules are the same. Do you want to revert to a condition of childhood, or do you want to grow up and become an adult and be responsible? That's the difference, is responsibility, accepting the risks of the world in order that you might fulfill yourself and rise to the pinnacle of your ability with responsibility, paying for your mistakes, or whether you will accept the benevolence of Big Brother, who will take care of you, never allowing you to rise to any pinnacle whatsoever, for one must never gain more than any other in a socialist system. Neither will you be allowed to fail, or starve yourself to death, or anything else. All will be equal. And Big Daddy will make sure that all is equal, and that no one raises a ruckus or ruffles a feather or makes a wave. Adam Weishaupt abandoned all the trapping of civilization, the destruction of religion, of family life, and parental discipline, of all existing governments, and he denounced ethics and morality as a violation of reason and national law. I should say natural law. The stress on natural law as the basis of true science and human organization clearly stamps the Illuminist followers of Weishaupt, including Clinton Roosevelt. And that includes Thomas Jefferson, ladies and gentlemen. Read the Declaration of Independence and you will see the words of Adam Weishaupt echoed in that document. The real purpose of the secret destiny of America was to give the common man a taste of freedom so as to topple the kings and queens, emperors, emirs, and sultans from their thrones, so that this brotherhood of man could sow the seeds of revolution and bring about their world government. It is no secret in Washington, D.C., I can assure you. And that is why the Washington Monument is an obelisk. And that is why when you walk into the rotunda of the Capitol building and look straight up at the Capitol dome, you will see a huge painting called the Apotheosis of George Washington. It literally means George Washington became God. It displays him in the chariot as Apollo, riding across the heavens in the chariot of the sun. And all around this great painting is depicted the old Roman pantheon of gods. And everywhere I hear this babble about how our founding fathers were all wonderful Christian individuals. If you study the layout of Washington, D.C. from the air, you will see that it has all the symbology of the ancient mystery religion of the Brotherhood. everywhere. Weishaupt alleged that existent organized religions were not true religions. That is, Clinton Roosevelt repeats, the function of true religion is, quote, to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, and make on earth peace and goodwill to man, end quote. Nothing wrong with that. For if there is someone in your community who is needy, it should be the church and the community that takes care of their fallen member. But not forever, ladies and gentlemen, only enough to get them on their feet and then push them back out into the world to make their own way. For that creates good citizens. Taking people and making them dependent upon the community or upon the church makes another lazy lout who sucks from the breast of the community and thus diminishes the welfare of all. Don't believe it? Look at the Great Society that President Lyndon Baines Johnson created in this country, where he took people who were working, people who had jobs. Poor they may be, they had the same opportunity as everyone else in this country to rise above that. That was in a day when Americans were not ashamed to wash dishes or bus tables or pick strawberries in fields to earn their living and thus maintain their self-respect and dignity. And that was when those same people taught their children manners and morals and ethics. And they said, yes, sir, and no, sir, and no, ma'am, and please, and thank you, and excuse me. Even in the poorest, most miserable community, because they had self-worth. You will not find that in an inner-city welfare community, no matter the color or religion of the people who are on welfare. And it is wrong of you to display that as the characteristic of the black, because there are more white people in this country on welfare than black people, and always have been, ladies and gentlemen, since the welfare system began. And that is the truth. Though you may not want to hear the truth, that's all you will ever get on this broadcast is the truth, the hard truth. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. All of this stuff is designed to divide us and thus put us at each other's throats in order to conquer us. And it works well. As I look around and I see this Hegelian dialectic in action, I can see that it works well. Very well, in fact. This is the voice of freedom.
Weishaupt on the hour. It is the hour of the time. Weishaupt for the curfew of your body, soul, and mind.
This is the hour of the time, and I'm William Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're listening to this afternoon is the culmination of many, many years of research by many, many people. Many, many people. People who are not content to sit on a couch and watch the boob tube and go to work and go down to Joe's bar and suck up on Budweiser and then, see about finding a party every night of their life and flittering away the world. Sometime in our life we awakened that something was terribly wrong, and we set out to find out what it was. And we were just as shocked as you when we began to discover the answers. And the answers we have, ladies and gentlemen, though you may not wish to hear those answers, as long as you listen to this broadcast, you will. The function of providing Social Security, Weishaupt alleged, was not served by any religion and could be served only by his new religion, Illuminism. I bet you wondered where that term came from, Social Security. Wasn't that a con game? How many of you have caught on to the Social Security scam? You see, when my grandmother was young, she was presented with Social Security as the answer to poverty in old age. It was to free the elderly. It was to protect them from their own inability to put aside at least 10% of their income during their life so that they could have something to live on in their old age. Socialists understand full well human failings and the temptations that we go through all the time. Nobody saves anymore, do they? You're promised retirement plans and Social Security benefits, and then these so-called old folks' homes, aren't they by and large forgotten, left there to die? And don't most of them spend their time sitting around in front of television sets or in chairs doing nothing but waiting to die? There used to be a time in this country when the old folks lived at home and thus imparted the culmination of all of their years of experience and learning to the young people. And it allowed the children to see folks grow old and experience the death of their grandfather or grandmother or great-grandfather or great-grandmother. And there was a chance for the children to repay their parents and grandparents by taking care of them in their old age as they took care of us in our infancy. But no more. That wealth of knowledge and wisdom and information is frittered away in old folks' homes where people are shelved, warehoused until they die. Can't wait to get rid of them. It is a travesty. It is a great sadness. It is a terrible sin in my estimation. How could we allow such things to happen? But we have, and yet we go on as if it's not going to happen to us. How can we be so stupid? It is assured to happen to us if that is what we are doing to our parents and our grandparents. That is what our children are going to do to us, or maybe worse. If Dr. Kevorkian gets his way, there will come a day when 2 weeks after you're housed in the old folks' warehouse, you will mysteriously die. And the children and grandchildren will receive a letter saying that, oh, we are so sorry to tell you, but 2 weeks after admitting your father or grandfather into the old folks' home, he suffered a stroke and passed away. You see, because if we continue upon this track, there will come a day when those who are a drain or burden upon the socialist big brother, big daddy society will be eliminated. I suggest you go watch Soylent Green one more time, ladies and gentlemen. When that movie was made, it was far-fetched. Nobody could conceive of such things happening But today it's a different story. Not only can it be conceived, not only can you see it coming in the future, but people are talking about doing exactly what you saw in that movie in meetings and societies around the world as one of the solutions to the population and hunger problem. Did you know that? Well, it's true. Weishaupt organized his order along the lines of Jesuit organization. He was a Jesuit priest, and he drew heavily on abandoned sections of the canon, especially on the canon of usury for his teachings. He was a ruthless politician. He was a master at the art of pretending to be all things to all men and using men's stupidity to destroy them. What makes someone want to join these organizations, these so-called fraternal lodges, where they're told from the beginning they will know nothing about what they're joining until they're initiated? How stupid can you be? Oh, yep, I'm going down to join Murderers Incorporated. Hey, Joe, why you want to do that? Well, it's a fraternal organization amongst these guys, and they just call it that. It's just a joke. Well, how do you know it's just a joke? Well, that's a fraternal organization. They exist for the good of the community. They wouldn't do anything bad. Oh, they wouldn't? How do you know? Well, gee, I really don't know, but I'm sure they wouldn't because I know a couple of guys who are members. Well, why are you joining an organization, Joe, that you don't know anything about? Well, all of these guys, they take care of each other and look out for each other, and, they get all the contracts in town. Everybody knows that. I mean, my business is going to be a success if I join this lodge. Well, Joe, aren't you worried that you're going to be joining something that you don't know anything about, and you're going to get hooked into this thing, and maybe you might be participating in something you don't want to participate in? Oh, no, they wouldn't do anything like that. So old Joe goes down and gets initiated, and after he's initiated, he thinks he knows everything. He doesn't even know what happened to him. He doesn't understand the symbology or the ritual that he was led through. All he knows is, oh, I got the handshake now, boy. I'm on the gravy train. And generally, that's true. These so-called fraternal organizations appeal to the basest nature of the human animal by promising them that they will become one of the elect few, the illumined ones, that they will learn great secrets, and that they will be taken care of by the brotherhood, and that their success in the community will be assured. That when they go into court, the court will look out after them. And that is generally true also. For the most part, most members of all of these different lodges don't know beans about what it is that they're a part of and never will and don't even want to. And there is no secret, for as the lucky few who do catch on and do understand and do demonstrate their loyalty and obedience will rise up through the degrees to the highest levels, and they will ultimately find the secret that has been held out to them as the carrot since the beginning. And the secret is, ladies and gentlemen, that there is no secret. The secret is simply how to hold out the carrot of the promise of a secret to control and manipulate others. That is the only secret that they have. And all the while that they are taught that they will become God, that man is God. But I have yet to see one of these gods create a universe, or fail to grow old and die. I have yet to see any of them prove that reincarnation is real and that they're going to come back, or that anybody has ever come back from anywhere at any time, ever. It is a perversion of the mind. And these people are suckers. If they sit down and really look at what it is that they're doing and listen to what it is that they are pattering, none of it makes any sense or has any reason connected to it whatsoever. Not at all. Adam Weishaupt cautiously avoided shocking the religious among the initiates into the order by pretending to support religion. He taught them that Christ was the first author of Illuminism, through which he sought to lead mankind back to the original liberty and equality that had been lost after the fall of Adam and Eve. And he exhorted his disciples to scorn riches in order to prepare the world for a community of goods that would do away with private property. But to members advanced into the secrets of the order, who were pledged to absolute discipline and to yield to our molding hands, he taught them this, and I quote his exact words: "The pretended religion of Christ was nothing else than the work of priests, a fraud and tyranny. Other religions have the same myths of their origin, are equally founded on lying, error, riddle, and fraud. In order to destroy Christianity and all religion, we pretend to have the only true religion. For the end justifies the means, and those we have taken to deliver you and the human race from all religions are nothing but pious frauds," end quote. Which was the admission that he himself, his organization, his religion, and his lodges are nothing but pious frauds. All of these peoples are liars. You watch them lie every day, and you wonder how they can do it. It's because they believe that the end justifies the means, and if they have to lie to get what they want, it's okay with them. You see, you don't understand. They have no morals, they have no ethics, and the end justifies the means. Whatever happens in life is just a learning experience. And how you behave in any experience is dictated by your subjective viewpoint, because you are God. Don't you understand that? Yes. Didn't you see Shirley MacLaine's movie? Didn't you get the gist of all of that? Didn't she run across the beach yelling, "I am God"? Shirley, I hate to tell you this, but you're not God. And you have more wrinkles now than you did then. You're shriveling up, and soon you're going to die. I hope it's not a painful death. We all die, so I don't feel any guilt or twangs of conscience about saying this. It's true. You are a mortal human being. You are not God, never were, and never will be, ever. Sorry to have to pop your bubble, Shirley, but it's the truth. And you can run across the beach all you want to, and each succeeding year you will run slower, and you will get tired faster, and you will have to sit down at some point and rest, because you're getting old, Shirley. And you're having to use more makeup every morning, and it takes longer for you to prepare to go out and meet the world in order to fool them that you are still as beautiful as you were when you were 25. And don't get me wrong, Shirley, we all love you and appreciate all of the wonderful movies that you have made and the entertainment that you have given us, but we do not appreciate being lied to. You are not God. There will never come a day where I will bow down to any altar and worship you. If you are to be worshipped, Shirley MacLaine, it's going to have to be you that does all the worshiping, because, frankly, my dear Scarlett, nobody else gives a damn. And that's the truth. The universe is so great, so complicated, that without even looking at the universe, just look once at the human body and then tell me how you are God. There is a God somewhere, that much is evident. There is no doubt about it to any reasonable person who sees how the universe and how the human body, and how nature, and the animals and trees, and the rocks and forests, and streams and rivers all work together, and the planets, and the solar system, and the galaxies, all work together according to immutable laws. And none of this was put together by man, I can assure you. Not Adam Weishaupt, not Shirley MacLaine, not me, not Billy Graham, not William Jefferson Clinton, not any man or woman who has ever lived on this earth has even contributed one iota to any of it. We are lucky that we have arrived at the state where we can live next door to each other without killing each other. And that's the truth of the matter. And we did it by allowing people to succeed on their own effort and holding them responsible for what they do. The creation of the United States of America by the founding fathers, even though they may have had ulterior motives in doing so, was the culmination, the ultimate achievement of all humankind, where man ceased to be a slave and became a king and queen in his and her own right, with the ability to succeed, to rise to the pinnacle of whatever their talents or achievement may have been, and to be responsible for whatever they did in the process. It's called freedom, ladies and gentlemen. It is what all Americans have in common. It is the only thing that we need be concerned with in this country. Freedom with responsibility. And you don't get freedom by making more and more laws, by throwing more and more people in prison for doing nothing to anybody, by creating victimless crimes, by controlling, by saying you can say this and you can say that, but you over there, you can't say that. You can travel and you can travel, but you can't travel. By closing off the highway and stopping every car and making people get out and rumbling through their possessions, that's not freedom. By throwing a woman who has the guts and exercises her freedom of speech to tell the president that he sucks in jail. He does suck. Who do they think they were kidding? Did they think by throwing this woman in jail that nobody would ever think ever again that the president sucks? He sucks. He's a liberal, a communist. He's destroying this country. And all of his pretending to be a conservative Republican now, after he found out that nobody was going for all of that communist crap he was shoving down our throats, isn't changing anything. Is it? Is it, ladies and gentlemen? These people believe that Jesus Christ was a communist and that's what he taught. Though I read all of his words, I don't hear that. And I'm not telling you you have to be a Christian or anything else. You see, I really believe in freedom. I really believe in the founding principles and ideals of this nation. I believe in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I believe so much in it, I'm willing to die for these principles and ideals. I believe you have a right to worship the God of your choice at the altar of your choice. I don't care who or what it is, as long as you do not hurt the property or person of any other human being. That's what I believe. Those of you who disagree with that, you're not Americans, and that's the truth. You certainly don't believe in the freedom of religion or freedom of speech, and that's the truth. And you don't seem to understand that when you take away the right of someone else to practice what you yourself covet, you have also taken it away from you. The moment someone rises to power who disagrees with you. The only way that we can protect ourselves is to protect all of us against the things that we do not want to happen to us. Whether we agree with them or not, whether we like them or not, it makes no difference. It matters little in the long run. For if I say to Joe, Joe cannot worship the religion that he wishes, the God that he wishes, at the altar that he wishes, I have also said to myself, uh-oh. You see, if Joe gets a bunch of people with him and he rises to power, Joe is going to turn around and do the same thing to me, and he will justify it by the fact that I did it to him. That's the true danger of democracies, ladies and gentlemen, and that's why our founders gave us a republic, a constitutional republic that protects the rights of individuals, not the rights of the group. You better watch out when the group becomes more important than the individual, because each and every one of you, though you may belong to the group, are individuals, and if you become unpopular or politically incorrect, or if you utter one word that is disagreeable, you become forfeit and can be sacrificed by the group for the good of the whole. The only way, ladies and gentlemen, to protect the good of the whole was, as our forefathers saw it, was to protect the rights of the individual. That guaranteed the health of the whole. When you put the health of the whole over the health of the rights of the individual, you have destroyed everything. You've made everything forfeit. In fact, you have created a God that doesn't even exist except in your minds or on a piece of paper. It's called government. When humanity exists to serve government, it is the biggest, saddest irony that man is then bowing to a God that he created. Oh, you see, in the only instance that man really can be God, in the creation of a government to protect the rights of man and to serve man, if man turns the tables on himself and makes the government his God, he has destroyed himself. In a very sick, perverse, and disagreeable manner. Weishaupt was a shrewd student of religion, ladies and gentlemen, and of canon law, which, as I said before, is religious law. He saw in the abandoned sections of the canon law and usury a diabolic device for robbing nations and enslaving them. I've been trying to teach you this for years. This section had been abandoned because it had been found by the church not only impractical, but actually dangerous, except possibly in church orders where asceticism and devotion are the mainsprings and motives of existence. You see, the church was almost enslaved by the Knights Templars, who became the world's first international bankers. And so they learned their lesson the hard way. The rank and file of mankind engage in a struggle for existence and necessarily must be endowed with a strong sense of possession as an aid in the acquisition of material things essential for survival in the world at large. We all know that. Canon law decreed that there must be production for use and not for profit, and that making a profit in a business transaction is the sin and crime of usury. Usury was a cardinal sin and a capital offense under the canon. As a result of this canon on usury, the industry, commerce, and civilization of the Roman Empire disintegrated, and civilization and culture vanished in a flood of socialism. You see, only 3 vocations became open to mankind. You could join the orders of the church. You could earn by the sweat of the brow as a laborer, or the more cunning, ruthless, and violent individuals in the role of knight posed as protectors of labor or labor leaders while actually enslaving the workers. And the more ruthless and violent the knight, the more serfs he enthralled, the more people he robbed, the wealthier and more powerful he became, all in the guise of protecting his victims and giving them security. That's socialism. Oh, you work my fields, you serve in my army, you wait on my tables, you lick my boots, and I will take care of you and make sure that you always have that work to do, and I will throw you the crumbs from my table. That's socialism. It's also feudalism. Over under the world socialism that's coming, they intend to do away with the feudal lords. There will only be one lord, the world's lord. And there will only be one serf, the world's serf. And you're it. The more powerful and ruthless vandals, in no wise hampered by inhibitions imposed by the teachings of the church, in turn vanquished the knights who were handicapped. And both elements preyed on the church itself. A man could hold his possessions or his womenfolk, and a church, monastery, or convent could hold their property and wealth only so long as they were strong enough to fight for them, or able to muster others to their defense, or if they had enough serfs to muster into an army to fight for them. It meant rule by labor and violence, and an end to law and order. This became the age of darkness that is known as the medieval times, or medievalism. It does reflect some credit, ladies and gentlemen, on the church that it recognized in the communism of canon law and usury the root of the evils of medievalism, and that it abandoned that section, abandoned it, threw it out, understood what it had brought them. Took a lot of time for it to happen. A lot of people died and lived in misery and disease. But it did come about. And that was the preparation for the Renaissance, for law and order, and for the beginning of the rise of human liberty, accomplishment. Where people were allowed to excel and invent and discover and learn and write magnificent books. The Hour of the Time, ladies and gentlemen, is brought to you by Swiss America Trading. They specialize in non-confiscatable, non-reportable hard assets, real money as described in the Constitution for the United States of America and in the law. Most people do not know that a piece of paper cannot be a dollar, for a dollar is nothing but a unit of measurement of a specific weight and measurement of purity of silver coin or the equivalent value in gold coin. So when you take out one of those Federal Reserve notes that's not federal and is not a note and it says a dollar and it's not a dollar, what are you doing? And why are you doing it? I mean, how stupid can we be? And why are we being so stupid? It's okay to be ignorant, folks, but not stupid. You see, if you're ignorant, that just means you don't have the knowledge. You can learn, you can make up for that. But when you have the knowledge and you still do the same things over and over again, that's stupidity. And there is nothing that can be done for that. It's caused by a lack of brains or guts. Which is it in your situation? Call Swiss America Trading. Ask them about real money. Ask them for a free copy of the current newsletter. Tell them that you're a listener to the Hour of the Time. And ask them how you can get your hands on some real money. And it doesn't cost a fortune, ladies and gentlemen. You can purchase $1 silver dollar or 1 gold coin, a small gold coin, a $5 gold piece that you can barely see but is heavier than you can even imagine, because gold is heavy. And once you feel it, you know it's gold because it has a gold feel. And if you've never felt it, you don't even know what I'm talking about. Once you've held real money in your hand, you can never be fooled again by that phony stuff in your pocket. That's what's destroying this country. That's the method that the communists have devised to eliminate the middle class as one of the precepts of the Communist Manifesto written by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels. Most of the planks on the Communist Manifesto have been fulfilled in this country already. If you don't believe it, get a copy and read it. You can usually find a copy in any local library. If you can't, call Bill Clinton. I'm sure he's got one on his desk. He'll send you a copy. Call Swiss America Trading, 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-BUY-COIN. Do it now, ladies and gentlemen. You know how you are. You're just like me and everybody else. Until we wake up, you tend to procrastinate. Don't do it anymore. We're on the edge of a cliff, and pretty soon we'll be falling off that cliff if we don't do something about it. So get off your lazy rear and start now. That's why Bill Clinton, in a White House memo, called me the most dangerous radio host in America, and Rush Limbaugh read it on the air to absolve himself of all guilt with the liberal establishment. And you call him your leader? Wake up, America. You've been had. You're listening to The Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Professor Weishaupt knew the destructive force and the malevolent enslaving power inherent in the communist nature of the canon on usury, and he saw in it a weapon with which to impoverish and enslave mankind and gain dominion over the world, and he taught it to his followers. He embraced this dross of the church that he planned to destroy and made it the basis of his conspiracy. This he represented, ladies and gentlemen, as a new social order, new world order, new deal, new economic order, I don't care what you call it, great society. It's all the same. He also pretended that he could root out possessiveness from human nature and thereby perfect it. This is the fundamental fallacy of communism, even when it is sincerely tried, as has been revealed by numerous experiments during the 19th century. Experiments in communism were rampant. The hippies went back to it in communes during the 60s and early 70s. That didn't work either. Where are they now? They're on Wall Street making a killing. Every one of them, except one that I know. For the purpose of stealthily robbing peoples of their wealth when they refuse to voluntarily renounce it, Weishaupt conceived of devices for confiscating all wealth by taxation. He advocated a progressive income tax and an even more confiscatory inheritance tax that would bar transmission of wealth and concentrate it in the hands of himself as ruler or in his organization. He knew that he was never going to see the culmination of this in his lifetime, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Weishaupt was no fool. He thought that it would take centuries to realize his goal. He urged the abolition of private property in any form, government ownership of industry, banking, and commerce, the complete regimentation and enslavement of labor, in a discipline that required absolute submission of wealth, body, and soul. And since as an educator, he realized the value of education in gaining control of the minds of people, which means also control of their wealth and fortunes, and its value in gaining dominance by brainwashing, he required government control of education. And you all have seen what has happened in this country because of it. His plan is coming to fruition. We have idiots graduating from high school who can't read their diploma. And now we're going on to this pigeonholing of people into the outcome-based education. And schools that teach people where to work and how to work to do certain jobs, and that's going to be what they do all their life, with no hope of ever doing anything else. A clearer concept of his conspiracy can be had if it is borne in mind that Weishaupt's government in reality meant himself as dictator. When I say himself, I'm talking about his organization, the Illuminati. Professor Weishaupt was versed in church lore. He knew well the effectiveness of espionage, torture, terrorism, and of savagery as devices for enforcing the subjugation and discipline of mankind or manipulating their thoughts. He established within his order for that purpose a Gestapo-type terrorist and murderous espionage agency, which he called the Insinuating Brothers. They were to ensure that there would be no leak in the secrets of the conspirators under threat of torture and vindictive persecution, and to aid in the subjection of the citizenry. It got its first extensive work out, ladies and gentlemen, the French Reign of Terror. Have you studied the French Revolution, which was brought about by the Illuminists, the Illuminati? Every totalitarian movement that has carried on the conspiracy since then adopted this device of Weishaupt's. The terrorist espionage corps is symbolized in the insignia of the Order of Illuminati by the all-seeing eye, mounted up on a pyramid that represents the secrets of the order, It is this insignia, strangely enough, that appears on the Great Seal of the United States of America, placed there by Weishaupt's agents in the American colonies. Didn't you wonder why there was a pyramid on the dollar bill? What do we care about pyramids, about Egyptology? Why do we have a pyramid on our dollar bill? And why is it capped with an all-seeing eye? Why does it have exactly 13 courses? What does all this represent? Most of you have never asked yourself that question. What does Novus Ordo Seclorum mean? Why, ladies and gentlemen, it means New World Order. That's what it means. Annuit Septus, Novus Ordo Seclorum, literally means, ladies and gentlemen, that they can see the culmination of their enterprise, that the great architect of the universe smiles upon their work. I could put it many other ways. Announcing the birth of the New World Order is one meaning. Sometimes I enjoy the research that brings forth all of this knowledge, but sometimes I do not enjoy giving it to you, because I know you don't want to hear it. If you wanted to hear it, you'd find it for yourself, wouldn't you? The Weishaupt dictated Illuminist code enshrines lying, deceit, treachery, treason, brutality, violence, torture, and murder. Alfred P. Murrah Federal Buildings, World Trade Centers, Vicky Weavers, Branch Davidians as sources of strength, vis-a-vis the stupid dilettante folks who accept civilization, culture, ethics, morality, and religion as their code. He uses these things to bring these people who appreciate civilization, culture, ethics, morality, and religion as their code to their knees to beg for more control so that their freedom can be taken away from them in exchange for security against Alfred P. Murrah Federal Buildings in Oklahoma City, World Trade Center buildings in New York City, Waco massacres in Texas, and all of the other machinations of this vile organization that is destroying the United States of America and stripping your freedom from you as you stand there and watch, begging them to take more. It is amazing to me to watch all of this happening, and try as I might to stop it and to wake you up, see that it just continues as you continue to sleep. It can't happen in America. This can't happen to me. This couldn't possibly be right. You're a conspiracy theorist. Isn't that right? And you say it from a position of complete ignorance, never having done the research or a lick of study on the subject in your life. And you watch the agents of this conspiracy tell you what to say and echo on the boob tube in your living room, and like dutiful puppets, that's exactly what you do. How many of you, after the Waco massacre, echoed to your friends and neighbors, they were just a bunch of religious fanatics, they deserved what they got in America? The land of the free and the land of the brave. The land where the rights of the individual triumph above all, in order to protect the whole, all of us, from tyranny. Well, they must have done something wrong, or they wouldn't have done what they did. I wonder what you will say when it happens to you. And if you continue the way you are going, it is guaranteed to happen to you. Weishaupt taught that savagery would serve to intimidate, subjugate, and terrorize their adversaries, and thereby serve to speed the attainment of the conspirators' goal, which is the subjugation and enslavement of the more decent elements of mankind and the concentration of complete and total power in the hands of the Illuminati. Weishaupt taught that human life is worthless and meaningless except as a device to further his conspiracy. Can you imagine that? A human being believing that human life is insignificant, is of no import, no consequence whatsoever. His followers have been instructed to lie without scruples, to deceive and betray without hesitancy, and they do it every day, and you watch them do it every day. Many of them you have voted into office. Others you work for or follow in some manner. Some are standing at the pulpits of your churches. They always have been enjoined to deny their adherence to the conspiracy, to deny its illuminous, socialist, communist character when exposed, and to regularly attack and vilify their accusers and pose as injured parties whose civil rights were violated because we pinned them with the truth. You see, Weishaupt and his associates set the example for the conspirators by hiding their criminal activities behind aliases, a custom that still prevails among these people. The destruction of existing governments, all existing governments, Weishaupt planned to obtain through any device that would serve to weaken and destroy them. Internally within the nations, the recommended devices are spending the nation into bankruptcy and inflation. Class warfare, especially between labor and capital and between the races, revolution and civil war. The destruction wrought between nations by economic and physical warfare, however, was recommended by Weishaupt as most effective in leveling down all nations to a common denominator of misery that would make them all ready prey for a dictator and facilitate the attainment of the goal of the conspirators. One world, united in serfdom under one dictator. And you see the signs of this everywhere. They are preparing you for it. AT&T, one world, one card. Naturally, the attainment of this ultimate goal, ladies and gentlemen, required the elimination of patriotism and the fostering of so-called internationalism, and that's why patriotism has become a dirty word in America. That's why patriots and militias are attacked viciously, even though they have always been the first line of defense and the first to stand up and die in defense of freedom for the American people throughout the history of this country. And yet you parrot the words of your Illuminati masters and defame and defile and slander and libel your neighbors who understand what is happening and are ready to stand once again on the front line of defense of freedom for those of you who are not even worthy of these people who would give such a noble sacrifice. And that is the truth. Why should they die for you when you are ready and willing to give it all up, and when you are ready to sell them down the river? Because you heard some slimy politician who has lied all of his life and continues to lie to you and is in the process of subjugating this nation to slavery through unconstitutional and treasonous legislation because you heard him say so. You are puppets. When they pull the strings, you dance to the tune that they play, and you parrot what they say, because you are afraid that if you don't, you won't get your benefits. Isn't that the truth also? Socialism is for weaklings, Socialism is for parasites. Socialism is for those who would steal the sweat off the brow of those who legitimately earn what they have. And that also is the truth. How will they support this great world of socialism? They will exploit those who are able to produce and work. And they will take all of the production from these people and give to those who cannot or will not or won't. Because in doing so, they build their base of power. For those who are dependent upon Big Daddy will never allow Big Daddy to come falling down. They must support their source of sustenance, and that is where the power of socialism comes from. From the basest defects of the human animal comes the power of socialism. The desire in most people to not be responsible, to not work, to not produce, but to become once again children, and to have the state become their daddy. And that is the truth. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm out of time. This 2 hours has gone by much too quickly, for I have so much more to tell you, but that will have to wait for another day. I hope that you are now illumined. Have I turned on any lights? Good night. God bless each and every single one of you, and may God save this republic. This is the hour of the time. I'm William Cooper. Look for mysticism for the answers, ladies and gentlemen. Life is for living. great secret. You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Good afternoon or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, depending upon which coast or where in between you happen to be. First, I want to remind you, and I've looked at it this time. It is magnificent. I am really proud of Dave, who put all this together. We now have a website, and I'm going to give you the internet address for that website right now, ladies and gentlemen. And you can get on your computer and go take a look at it. It's just great and has some fantastic links, and will help you learn about low power radio transmitting, how to become an affiliate of the Worldwide Freedom Radio Network, how to set up your own low power FM station or AM station, should you so desire, and a whole bunch of other things. I mean, it is truly an amazing website. And here's the address, http:// and yesterday I said backslash. I have been corrected and have been told that it is a // and I got to tell you the truth, folks. Looking at both of them, I can't tell which one's forward and which one's back. So anyway, http:// www.telepather. That's http://www.telepath.com/believer. One more time, just in case you didn't get it. Here we go. http://www.telepather.com/believer. That's http://www.telepath.com/believer. Mystery and the promise of a great secret. That is how Adam Weishaupt garnered his followers. He taught them the esoteric religion of the ancient Temple of Babylon. He convinced them that even though the completion of the great work would not happen in their lifetime, that after they died, they would come back reincarnated, remembering everything eventually would realize the fruits of their labors. We continue with part 2 of Adam Weishaupt's Order of the Illuminati. Ladies and gentlemen, from the start, the Illuminist, Socialist, Communist conspiracy has been truly international. From time to time, its leadership has been shifted from one country to another. Agents of this conspiracy make it their careers. Weishaupt required that they worm their ways into government posts of confidence and policy-making capacities. And then, once there, when positions opened up below them, they would simply bring in other members of the order. By this method, it does not take too many years, ladies and gentlemen, to completely, and I mean completely, occupy an entire country. I might tell you that if you hear some howling in the background, the wind is blowing and there's a snowstorm outside. And so it should add some atmosphere to this broadcast, or at least I hope that it does, since it's going to be with us. Once a government post has been attained, the conspirators are required to promote a steady infiltration of the government by their fellow conspirators. That is what has happened in the United States of America. As partners in crime, they are required to rise as a unit to the defense of their fellow conspirators, to protect them against all charges exposing their conspiratorial associations, to attack, defame, and smear all persons and organizations that undertake to expose the conspiracy, and to persecute and destroy them, and to further the conspiracy in every manner and by every crime that will serve its purpose. They are vile, despicable people. They are required to be traitors to the government that employs them, and to betray those governments into the hands of the current leaders of the conspiracy, in whatever land they are currently working on, or wherever they happen to be at the time. Conspirator agents, ladies and gentlemen, are shifted from one land to another in key capacity in order to ensure against possible reversion to national loyalty. A prime function of internationalism, from the viewpoint of the conspirators, is to instigate and agitate a constant chain of tension, antagonism, terrorism, and warfare between nations, betraying each and every one in turn until they are so weakened that they will fall ready prey to the conspirators who bore from within, like so many worms in a corpse. From the point of view of these conspirators, Patriotism assumes the aspects of isolationism that frustrates their schemes. Treason against the rest of the world is, according to Weishaupt's perfectibilism, an essential and laudable trait, a virtue of which only his so-called liberals can be capable. Treason is the essential feature of what the conspirators call internationalism. And their anthem, Internationale, expresses the real nature of the conspiracy. And if you've never heard it, you must listen to the words. Other essential features of the conspiracy that were dictated by Adam Weishaupt that still characterize it today are the following. Listen carefully. A philanthropic pose that pretends to further the good of mankind and working their goodwill on humans. Another one is bipartisanship. Weishaupt demanded that the conspirators have no loyalty except to the conspiracy, that they never hesitate to pretend adherence to any and every cause in the interest of infiltrating them and taking them over for the furtherance of the conspiracy. They were required to dedicate lifetimes to the conspiracy. This gives it continuity during centuries. The assignment of these conspirators is perpetual and is in many instances hereditary, handed down from father to son and mother to daughter. During unfavorable periods for the conspiracy, its agents simply go underground, continuing their activities in posts given them by fellow conspirators that by preference are in the field of education, where they can continue their subversive propaganda among the rising generation. You see, the future belongs to the children. If they can brainwash or propagandize the children into accepting their ideas, the future is won, ladies and gentlemen. It is in their hands. The pearl of great price is within reach. When the political climate becomes more favorable for the conspirators, they emerge into the open in government posts, once again carrying on as they are today in the United States of America. You can identify them easily. It is strikingly illustrated in the activities of Weishaupt's followers in the United States. Adherents of Woodrow Wilson vanished from the public scene into cloistered halls and emerged in 1933 after years of hibernation as the exultant agents of the new Fair and Ike deals. The consequence of the perseverance of the conspirators is the fact, ladies and gentlemen, that with few exceptions, most of the members of Congress in all parties are their agents. And that's why it doesn't matter who you elect. Nothing changes. We keep marching into our own destruction. Deceit, cunning, lies, manipulation of the conspirators who are enjoined from revealing their identification with the conspiracy and impressed with the necessity of denying their adherence. Venomous vindictiveness are visited by them, and all who betray or expose them. The extent of the goodwill towards fellow men of the Illuminists is epitomized in Weishaupt's advice to them. He said this, listen carefully, quote, "Apply yourself to the art of counterfeiting, of masking yourself and spying on others, of picking their minds," end quote. And for the purpose of carrying out his conspiracy, Weishaupt organized his order of Illuminati as a rigidly regimented hierarchy in which each member was pledged to secrecy under threat of reprisal, persecution, torture, and death at the hands of the Gestapo, symbolized by the insignia of the order, and to absolute unquestioning obedience and abject submission and loyalty to superiors. You see, the members of the Order of Illuminati, like the members of their successor, the Communist Party, were intended to constitute the ruling class of a world dictatorship that would enslave all mankind. They were marshaled into several classes or degrees. that in rising rank were classified roughly as follows. The first were novices, or initiates, lesser Illuminati. Second, Freemason, ordinary Scottish and Scottish Knights. And third, the mystery classes, including 2 grades of priests, regents, potentates, grand potentates, magus, and king. Only the mystery classes were admitted to a knowledge of the criminal purposes of the order of Illuminati at the highest of degrees. At the lower degrees, you have a bunch of bumbling fools who really believe that they're doing good for the community, don't understand what they belong to, don't understand the symbology. They go through the rituals of the lodge every time they meet, and they don't even know what it represents or what they're doing, because they're really there for material gain. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, most people would do just about anything. This prominent belief that most people are good at heart just isn't true, ladies and gentlemen. Some people are very good at heart, and without them there would be no society. But most people, the sheeple, ladies and gentlemen, are selfish, ignorant, apathetic, and would sell their soul for success in the marketplace or in their business or whatever it is that they value so much. They seek perpetual gratification like children and must have it now. The adherents of Adam Weishaupt's Illuminati order exploit this base nature of the human animal, and they exploit it well. Like the founding fathers of the United States of America, the adherents of the higher degrees of the order are geniuses when it comes to understanding human nature. Deceit and cunning of the conspirators prevails. The organization of the order that Weishaupt conceived and created for the purpose of carrying out his brutal, destructive conspiracy that was intended to rob, despoil, and enslave mankind and to restore medievalism, that was intended to seduce mankind to overthrow its old misrulers for new ones who were even more ruthless and cruel than the old, was closely patterned on the old order which he pretended to wish to destroy. It owed much to the discipline of the Society of Jesuits in which Weishaupt had been trained, in which he hated, or at least pretended that he hated, and to the Order of Teutonic Knights, an extension of the ancient Knights Templar, the centuries-old group that had been granted by the Vatican the right to bring the faith to the Slavic heathen at the point of the sword. They subsequently interpreted this grant as a mission to rule the world. Their motto and objective was Deutschland über alles, a world dictatorship of German rulers. But this isn't German in nature, ladies and gentlemen. Believe me. The upper echelon of the Order of Illuminati is made up of all different nationalities and people who outwardly profess certain religious beliefs, but in truth don't believe those religious teachings at all. They are loyal to only the order, and they believe only in the religion of the order, and they work only toward the furtherance of the agenda of the order, the completion of the great plan, the great work, the complete and utter and total subjugation of all of the peoples of the world to the rule of their benevolent dictatorship under a world socialist totalitarian government. That is where we are headed. Can you hear the wind? Weishaupt dictated as the basic principle of his order the maxim, the end justifies the means. All concepts of civilization, of honesty, honor, decency, morality, ethics, and humanity he scorned and cast aside as the despised roots of the weakness that would betray mankind, their civilized adversaries, into the hands of the conspirators. Lying, deceit, manipulation, craftiness, cunning, shiftiness, dishonesty, brutality, ruthlessness, and murder he actually enshrined as virtues. In the true etymology and sense of the word source of power, Weishaupt dictated that these virtues were to be inculcated into the young, rising generations, ladies and gentlemen, through which all the devices of education, entertainment, and propaganda, he directed that wholesome parental discipline over them should be destroyed, so as to make the children ready prey of his ghoulish crew. You wondered what happened to your children? You wonder why each generation gets dumber and dumber and dumber? It's not by accident, I can assure you. It takes work to do that. It takes a plan. It takes parents who really don't care and hand their children over to the National Education Associates change agents in your local school so that they can be brainwashed and indoctrinated into the new socialism. From time immemorial, crafty men have connived and struggled for mastery of the minds of their more naive fellow men. For control of man's mind means control of his body, his wealth, his fortune, and his destiny. Such struggle, ladies and gentlemen, for ostensibly benign purposes is manifest in the history of religion. For malign purposes, it has always constituted an essential feature of every conspiracy against humanity and is used for the creation of intolerance and hatreds that serve the purposes of the conspirators. It is the Hegelian dialectic at work. The process of gaining control of minds en masse goes by various names: education, especially public education, propaganda, and in its most brutal form, brainwashing. Professor Weishaupt, as an educator, was fully aware of how much greater is the potency of control of man's mind than control of his body. He dictated a pattern of conversion of education and all media of mass communication to subversive propaganda. And this has become quite familiar to all of us through the activities of the agencies of our so-called philanthropic foundation trust. That includes the Carnegie and Rockefeller foundations, and of all the schools, colleges, and universities, newspapers, periodicals, the communist news networks, CNN, the Communist Broadcasting Service, CBS, the National Broadcasting Communists, NBC, and the Allied Broadcasting Communists, ABC. And then there's the Public Broadcasting Communists on PBC. All indoctrinating, all propagandizing, none of them telling you the truth. And then there's Hollywood, libraries. Have you noticed that certain books are disappearing from the libraries of the nation and from the Library of Congress? Clubs, societies, especially the secret and fraternal orders, and other agencies of mass communication dominated by the order of Illuminati. You don't have to take my word, folks. You don't have to take my word. In fact, I admonish you not to. Listen to everyone, read everything, believe absolutely nothing unless you can prove it in your own investigations. If you really believe what has happened to this country has happened by accident, then you're playing poker, folks. With no cards. Adam Weishaupt was also the reviver of the most forceful forms of brainwashing made familiar to the world by the cavalry, the Inquisition, the Gestapo, the OGPU, the NKVD, the Black Hand, in the form of his terroristic espionage organization known as the Insinuating Brothers, symbolized by the pyramid-mounted eye, known today as the Order of Illuminati. Weishaupt wrote, and I quote, "It is also necessary to gain the common people to our order. The great means to do that end is influence in the schools," end quote. He required of his followers that they yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. It is interesting, ladies and gentlemen, to note that the entire occasional letter number 1, issued in 1904 by John D. Rockefeller and Reverend Frederick Gates, his almoner, as a statement of the purposes of their philanthropy, the General Education Board is virtually paraphrased from the writings of Adam Weishaupt, both held to the premise, quote, "Man is the most contemptible of all animals, because it is the only animal that can be induced to destroy itself," end quote. He said this, he wrote it. That's what he thinks of you. They think you are stupid sheep animals, ripe for the plucking. And since you are going to fall prey to someone, why not to them? Weishaupt dared to go one step further than his followers. He openly expressed his contempt and openly reveled in the despicable stupidity of his brainwashed followers. And he wrote this, quote, "The most admirable thing of all is that the great Protestant and Reformed theologians who belong to our order see in it the true and genuine mind of the Christian religion. Oh, man, what can you not be led to believe?" End quote. Most people don't know that Martin Luther wore as a ring, which was his official seal, the rose and cross, which was another extension of Weishaupt's Order of the Illuminati. Weishaupt demanded blind and abject adherence to the order's party line as dictated by himself, and only himself, through all its deviousness, lies, contradictions, falseness, and deceit, complete acceptance of mental warping and brainwashing, and unquestioning physical submission. Any follower who questioned or resisted his dictates, or who failed in abject submission, was purged, or disappeared, or was found murdered somewhere. He had no scruples about saying that he sought to lure dupes into his order, and he wrote, quote, "These people swell our numbers and fill our treasury. Get busy and make these folks nibble at our bait, but do not tell them our secrets. They are not to be admitted to the secret degrees and knowledge of the conspiracy to enslave them, the true purpose of the order. They must be made to believe that the low degree that they have reached is the highest," end quote. And that is what many master masons of the Blue Lodge sincerely believe. They have been duped. And no wonder anyone who would join an organization which they know nothing about, and they're told in the beginning they can know nothing about, until they've gone through the initiation process and up the ladder of the several degrees, is a fool to begin with. And then they sit there thinking that they know it all, parroting that there is no conspiracy. How would they know? How would they know when they're on the very bottom rung of the ladder, believing that they are at the top? Amazing, isn't it? How you can destroy men with a little mysticism and the promise of a secret that they never, ever obtain, except for a very few who are nurtured and watched and tested for loyalty and belief, who are helped up the ladder by their mentors until they get to the top and find out that, lo and behold, there is no secret except the secret of how to hold out the carrot of a secret to entice and control others. They don't have any secret, folks. The purpose of life is to live it. And if you're looking for any other reason for living, you're going to spend your life chasing your tail and going around in circles. There is no other reason. The purpose of life is to live it in and of itself. And you can make it a good life or a bad life, whatever you determine you wish to do with it, it is your life. But if you want to waste it trying to look for some mystical purpose of your existence, you are doomed, because there isn't any. It's like living in California and your TV doesn't work, so you take a trip to New York City to find out why, when all you had to do was look behind it, pick up the plug and stick it in the wall. It would be difficult, ladies and gentlemen, to express more concisely the objectives of Weishaupt's conspiracy in the field of educational propaganda than was done in the occasional letter number 1 of Rockefeller's General Education Board. It reads as follows, and I quote, "In our dreams we have limitless resources, and the people yield themselves with perfect docility to our molding hands. The present educational conventions fade from our minds, and unhampered by tradition, we work our own goodwill upon a grateful and responsive rural folk. We shall not try to make these people or any of their children into philosophers or men of learning or of science. We have not to raise up from among them authors, editors, poets, or men of letters. We shall not search for embryo great artists, painters, musicians, nor lawyers, doctors, preachers, politicians, statesmen, of whom we have an ample supply. The task we set before ourselves is very simple as well as a very beautiful one, to train these people as we find them to a perfectly ideal life just where they are. So we will organize our children and teach them to do in a perfect way the things their fathers and mothers are doing in an imperfect way in the homes, in the shops, and on the farm." End quote. by Swiss America Trading. They specialize in real money, gold and silver coin, precious metals in all of their various forms, including bullion, commemorative strikings, medallions, whatever you want, they have it. But I suggest that you stick to real money, gold and silver coin. Why? Because it's the only thing throughout the history of the world that has maintained its value no matter what has happened to the paper money system or the economy of nations or wars being fought or anything else. Downfalls of kings and queens, it has made no difference, and people who have had real money in their possession during these catastrophes have been the only ones who have survived. All others are destroyed during these cyclical disasters. And one is coming in the United States of America, you can be sure of that. Call 1-800-289-2646, ladies and gentlemen. Do it now. Get your hands on some real money. Ask for a current copy of the newsletter. You'll be glad that you did. A great weight will come from off your shoulders, and you will know that you have at least done something that will preserve a part of your assets. Even if it's a small part, it's better than nothing. And it doesn't cost a fortune like you may think. You can set up a plan where you contribute so much money each month to obtain what you need. Right now, it's non-confiscatable and non-reportable, but I cannot guarantee you that will be the case tomorrow. So if you wait until tomorrow, you might defeat your purpose. 1-800-289-2646. Do it now, folks. You'll be so glad that you did. Look around at the faces of your loved ones. If you cannot, at this time, look them right in the eye and tell them that you've taken the necessary steps to preserve your assets. And I'm not talking about investing in the stock market that could crash tomorrow and destroy your assets. I'm talking about investing in a real commodity that has intrinsic worth in and of itself that will not disappear no matter what. If you can't tell them that right now, then you must make this call. And if you don't make the call, you must go into the bathroom and look yourself in the mirror and admit to yourself that you really don't love them at all. You're playing some kind of game. Don't look to Big Brother to take care of you. If this disaster happens, it will be Big Brother that is the disaster. 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-BUY-COIN. Of the time, worldwide. Vital elements of Weishaupt's conspiracy were found in this letter. First, there is the pose of philanthropy. Second, the intent to brainwash or mold. Third, the abandonment of tradition, science, and learning. Fourth, the dictatorship objective. Fifth, the intent to regiment the peasantry into a caste system just where they are. Sixth, the intent to reduce national intelligence to the lowest common denominator and to destroy parental influence, which has been so successful that it has given the country a terrifying wave of juvenile delinquency. Seventh, contempt of the people who were also called our children by the tyrannic czar, the little white father. Seventh, the element of deceit that entered the situation when the too frank avowal of the true purposes of the foundation became recognized shortly after it was founded, and the Rockefellers belied their intent to reduce intelligence to the lowest denominator and posed as patrons of art, letters, and science. Eighth, the element of subversion and un-Americanism, the avowed intent to overthrow accepted customs and institutions to serve the purposes of the Rockefeller Illuminati sponsors and to further their plots and schemes. And finally, perfectibilism, the perfecting of human nature, Weishaupt's dream and sham. The great confidence game is worked upon us all the while, thinking that we are brilliant and smart, and it can't happen to us, and it can't happen here. This happens in other places. It happens in Germany. This happens in Europe. This happens in South America. This happens in South Africa. It can't happen here. Isn't that what you say? Don't deny it. I hear you say it every day. Like his followers and their public relation henchmen, Professor Weishaupt was a master propagandist. He took special pains to lure into the order of Illuminati the top names of the era among the philosophers, authors, newsmen, and all who had at their disposal the media of mass communication. And the order, in turn, undertook to enhance the effectiveness of the propaganda of its members by boosting and promoting them in a spirit of mutual admiration. How do you think Rush Limbaugh came from an obscure radio station in Sacramento to be broadcasting on over 600 radio stations across the nation? And he sits there on half of his brain, spinning you around in circles, telling you that he is a conservative and promoting things like NAFTA and GATT, which pull down our borders, destroy our sovereignty, take jobs away from the American people, and you call him up and say, "Ditto from Missouri, Rush. Boy, you've sure awakened me." How has he awakened you? He's kept you from the truth. He doesn't talk about the real enemies of the Republic. He doesn't give you any real solutions. He spins you around and round like a top on the table until you fall off the edge and shatter into a million pieces. That is what's happening to America. Why do you think they pay Dan Rather $2 million a year to be a talking head on national television? Do you really believe Dan Rather is worth $2 million? Does he do anything that is worth $2 million? Yes, for the Illuminati he does. He keeps you ignorant and stupid and tells you what they want you to believe. And you sit there and you listen and you believe it. They pull the strings and you dance. They pipe the tune and you sing the words that they wrote to your children, who then become dutiful little puppets after you. The order enhances the effectiveness of the propaganda of its members by boosting them and promoting them. Why do you think George Bush invited Rush Limbaugh to sleep in the White House and to sit by Barbara Bush during the Republican National Convention? So that you would believe that he was important and that he was telling you the truth. They lifted him from obscurity and they presented him to you as the conservative Messiah. He in turn tells you the truth and you don't listen. I have heard him say many times that he is just an entertainer, that he does what he does for ratings and for money. And if he couldn't get ratings being a conservative and espousing the conservative ideal, I heard him say this on his own show. He told you the truth and you're not listening. He said he would espouse the liberal point of view if that would get him higher ratings and more money in his pocket. And you don't listen. Dittos from New York, Rush. Why are people so proud of calling themselves ditto heads? I can't understand it. Now, folks, this isn't about Rush Limbaugh, really. I'm using him as an example. I could use anybody in the media. Anybody. Anybody that rises to that level must espouse the Illuminist point of view, or they are not allowed to rise at all. You see, in order to neutralize the conservative forces in this country, or those who believe that they're conservative, it's really a label that means nothing. You're either an American or you're not, and that's the truth of the matter. But they had to give these people some kind of a belief that they had a spokesperson in the media so as to neutralize them, so that they could not get behind someone who would truly be their spokesperson and lift them up to represent them truthfully. It is the way the conspiracy works. It is the way it has always worked. Promote them in a spirit of mutual admiration. The ranks of the Order of Illuminati were filled with literati, the intelligentsia, who realized the material advantages of its support, not understanding through a study of history, which even historians don't seem to really believe, that as soon as the Illuminati rise to power and install their socialist linchpins in the highest levels of government, the first people that they eliminate are the intelligentsia, the literati who brought them to power. It's written in the misery of all of the countries that have allowed socialism to take them over. And all you have to do is look at the history of those countries to see what is going to be the history of this country if we allow it to continue. I am continually amazed at all of this. In the ranks of the Illuminati are to be found encyclopedists, Voltaire and Rousseau, who played so large a role in the preliminary propaganda that prepared the way for the French Revolution that was engineered by the order. In Germany, its ranks were joined by Goethe, Engels, and Karl Marx. Marx's Communist Manifesto that publicized the administrative aspects of the Illuminist socialist communist conspiracy was directly plagiarized from Weishaupt's teachings and writings. Marx himself was an abject failure at everything he did, a miserable man, a racist, a man who deserted his wife and children. And most of what is attributed to the writings of Karl Marx are really the plagiarized writings of Friedrich Engels. Yet these poor, silly people look to Marx as some kind of a genius, savior for the abject failures of the world. If you look in any socialist organization, that's usually what you'll find. Rejects, failures, losers. And that's why they adopt socialism. It promises them that Big Brother will take care of them. They don't have to succeed. They don't have to become anybody. They don't have to exert themselves. They don't even have to work. Is it any wonder that they find it easy to swell their ranks whenever they need to do it? In America, DeWitt Clinton, Thomas Paine, Thomas Jefferson, Clinton Roosevelt, Benjamin Franklin were among the Illuminist adherents. Ben Franklin was the master of the Lodge of Nine Muses in France. In America, he pretended to be an abject Christian, moral and ethical man. There's no doubt that he was a genius. When he was in France, he surrounded himself with prostitutes and bottles of champagne and drank himself into oblivion. It's a matter of historical record. But I know you don't want to hear such things. Everyone, I don't care who it is hiding from some truth or other. And I'm going to tell you now that Jesus Christ told us the greatest truth that we ever need to hear. When he said, "Seek ye the truth, and the truth shall make you free." If you hide from the truth, you can never be free. If you seek the truth, no matter how much it hurts, if you recognize it, if you display it, if you live the truth, you will be free. And that's the only way that you will be free. There is no other way. For lies enslave you. A fantasy world is marked by its boundaries, and that becomes your prison. For to venture out of the fantasy into the truth cannot be done if you are living in fantasy. Any more than a murderer can climb over the walls of his prison without suffering the consequences of a bullet in the back. Lies enslave, truth frees. Truth liberates. Truth hurts. The Illuminati overlooks no source of support and revenue for its philanthropic order, thus setting an example that the successors have invariably followed. Weishaupt undertook to be all things to all men and women, just like American politicians. They'll go down the street to the meeting of the union and promise the union members everything that they want. They'll go down the street a little further later that same night to a meeting of industrialists and managers and promise them that they will get whatever they want and that he will suppress the unions. The union believes what Bill Clinton says, and the managers believe what Bill Clinton says, and it doesn't mean anything using the name Bill Clinton. It could be Newt Gingrich or Bob Dole or any of them. They are all the same. Traitors working treason upon us. I don't care what name you pin upon their shirt. They're all engaged in the same treason. Now, you know why William Clinton named me in a White House memo as the most dangerous radio host in America. Not because I'm carrying an assault rifle. What is an assault rifle? If I hit you with a hammer, it's an assault hammer. A rifle is simply a rifle. They attach those names like that so that you will betray yourselves and give up your power into the hands of those who want to enslave you. Not because I carry an assault rifle or an assault hammer, but because I carry and wield the truth unmercifully. That is why I'm the most dangerous radio host in America. That is why Bill Clinton is afraid of me. That is why all of the politicians in Washington, D.C. are afraid of me. They are scared to death that you will listen and that you will investigate and that you will seek out the truth and expose it to the light of day and return this nation to freedom, to the guaranteed constitutional republic that gave birth to the freest people and the greatest nation that has ever existed upon the face of this earth, that they are in the process of destroying, to bring about their utopian socialist world government. You can be free or you can be a slave. It's up to you. It is up to the American people, for we are the last bastion, the last line of defense in the world against this creeping malignancy. If we allow ourselves to be disarmed and plunge into socialism, then the human race will go backwards in its evolution into enslavement from which it escaped when our founding fathers created the United States of America. The ultimate achievement of all humankind, by the way. And until this nation was created, no people had ever existed upon the face of this earth free at any time in the history of the world. They had all been owned, controlled, manipulated, enslaved by sultans, emperors, emirs, kings and queens, lords. You really want to go backwards? Is that really what you want? Is that the destiny of the human race? I don't think so, ladies and gentlemen. This is the voice of freedom. Freedom Radio Network, with studios in Eager, Arizona, broadcasting on satellite GE1, transponder 7, 7.56 audio, and over 700 FM stations across the nation and around the world. The Hour of the Time is also carried on WRMI, worldwide shortwave, 9955 kilohertz, Monday through Friday, 5 until 7 Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to the second hour. You're listening to the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have a computer, we now have a web page, and I'm going to give you that information right now so that you can get on your computer and take a look at it. I've had a look at it, and it's magnificent. I didn't put it together. Somebody else did. Dave did. And he did a wonderful job, and I want to publicly, right now, thank you, Dave, for what you've /BELIEVER. That's http://www.telepath.com/believer. Once again, http://www.telepath.com/believer. Weishaupt, like his followers, emulating him, sought to be all things to all men and women, and promised everyone fulfillment of his or her needs and desires, no matter how contradictory. Weishaupt organized a ladies' auxiliary of the Order of Illuminati that was limited, ladies and gentlemen, to virtuous or relatively virtuous women whom he promised protection of hearth and home. You know it as co-masonry. He also organized a women's auxiliary for tramps, bums, and prostitutes to whom he promised a monopoly of the favors of the husbands of the members of the ladies' auxiliary. Pretty smart, huh? This method has been followed faithfully by Weishaupt's successors in the conspiracy, and between the two orders of women has been able to garner the material to blackmail the leaders of the community whenever they attempted to get out of hand. Several members of groups offered Weishaupt special problems. The Protestant princes and rulers of Germany and Europe were delighted with Weishaupt's plans to destroy the Catholic Church, and they flocked to the order. They brought with them control of the Masonic order, in which they initiated Weishaupt and his fellow conspirators in 1777. Subsequently, at the Congress of Wilhelmsbad, they effected a merger of the Order of Illuminati and the Masonic order. Weishaupt sought and welcomed the powerful support of these rulers. But he realized that he must not permit them to suspect that in furtherance of his internationalist goal of one world's dictatorship, the order was dedicated to destroying them also. Isn't it amazing? I find it absolutely amazing, even terrifying, tragic, and sometimes abjectly hilarious. Humorous to the point of heart attack time. Weishaupt craftily solved this problem by limiting the princes and rulers to the lower degrees and barring them from the knowledge of the true purposes of the order that were revealed cautiously only to those in the higher degrees. Renegade Jesuits, whom Weishaupt initially welcomed, then rejected, and finally welcomed once again into the order, and Jews, who were initially rejected and later were welcomed, also constituted special problems. Eventually, however, Weishaupt and his successors welcomed into the order these groups and all others that could be trusted to be thoroughly discontent with the prevailing order, and he learned how to manipulate and control them all. Each different group thinking that they were working their own agenda for their own furtherance of their own happiness. Never caught on, not even to this day, that they are manipulated for the furtherance of the Order of Illuminati, according to Weishaupt's plans and for no other agenda. And it was primarily renegade Catholics, chronic malcontents and revolutionaries among the Protestants and Jews who were selectively advanced to the highest degrees and innermost secrets of the Order of Illuminati and its successor organizations. And that's why you see so many of these people engaged in treason and destruction of the Republic. But it is a mistake to say that it is the Catholics. It is a mistake to say that it is the Jews, for most Catholics and most Jews don't even understand what's happening to them, much less are they participating in any plan or agenda to bring it about. In time, crafty, cunning use was made of the Jews by the Illuminist conspirators. Special Illuminist lodges were set up among them, such as the Egyptian Rite of Memphis, established by Cagliostro, the Rite of Mizraim, established in Paris, and the Haskalah, Hebrew for enlightenment or illuminism, in the Slavic countries, and B'nai B'rith in the United States of America, with its propaganda arm, the Anti-Defamation League. The Illuminists gained the support of the Jews by pretending to foster the movement for their liberation and release from the ghetto. More than a century elapsed before it might have become obvious to the Jewish supporters of the Illuminist socialist communist conspiracy that their supposed liberators merely planned to impose on them and on fellow minority dupes far more brutal, murderous forms of serfdom and inhumanity that bear the names of National Socialism, Nazis, and Communism, the Soviet Union, where Jews were enslaved in labor camps and killed and murdered, along with Poles and Gypsies and Slavs and Negroes and Christians. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, most of them fail to recognize how they have been betrayed and how they have betrayed themselves and have been duped into the role of cat's paws who further their own destruction by becoming pawns of the master conspirators. And in this country, the only country in the history of the world that has truly welcomed them and given them a place in our society and allowed them to be free with all the rights and protections of all of the citizens, some of them have joined with the conspirators to destroy it and once again enslave themselves, as they have been throughout the history of the world, thinking that socialism will set them free. Well, Hitler didn't set them free, and Hitler was a socialist. German National Socialist Workers' Party is the true meaning of Nazi. It is not right-wing, could not be right-wing, never has been right-wing. All forms of control lie on the left. The right goes further and further toward anarchy. Somewhere in the middle is the constitutional republic called the United States of America, where all people have one uniting common bond, and that is freedom. And they had better not have the propensity to give it up. For the opposite of freedom is enslavement. Without freedom, you are enslaved. So why are these people working toward that end? Well, for the answer to that, ladies and gentlemen, you have to read Hegel. And I know that most of you have never heard the name before. Asking you to go to your library and look for Hegel's works, which are for the most part tedious and hard reading, but nevertheless will awaken in you the understanding of how you are manipulated by creating clashes between groups and ideas and peoples and races and religions in order to further the conspiracy of the Illuminists. United we stand, united with freedom under responsibility, working toward the furtherance and the maintenance of freedom with responsibility, we can remain free. Allowing ourselves to be divided and pitted against each other is the sure road to enslavement. And that's the road that we are on right this moment. All of these peoples who have been duped continue to play a prominent but minor role in the conspiracy. As a result of it, they have leaped quite literally from the frying pan into the fire, from the ghetto to the concentration camp and its gas chamber and incinerator, and those things are coming again here in America. Unless we wake up and stop it. In the conspirators' plan for effecting a dictatorship, the device of wiping out individuality through regimentation into organizations dominated by themselves, in which the so-called faceless rank and file are denied any voice, has been relied upon heavily. Today, people unite behind the phony philosophy of political correctness, thinking that they are doing themselves a favor, ducking the truth and inventing lies to sound good and feel good rather than face the truth. And so they deny themselves any voice. The key organizations in this regimentation have been labor unions, political parties, from the very beginning, the control of labor has been one of the first goals dictated by Adam Weishaupt. And the poor members of the unions don't even understand what's going on, for their leaders hobnob in the same clubs with the management that they oppose. Anyone can write for and obtain a list of membership at the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission and see that right along with the scions of industry and the great heads of corporations are sitting the leaders of the labor unions and the labor movement. Great friends, all working toward the same goal. One world, utopian, totalitarian, socialist government. For control of labor, ladies and gentlemen, implies control of the bulk of the populace and control of virtually all production and services. Our industrial base is being destroyed to break up any hope that the common worker in this country will have any political power. And our great industrial base is being changed to a service-based economy, which always pays low wages. Industry has moved out of the United States of America under NAFTA and GATT to places where they don't have to pay anybody hardly anything. And so begins the decline of the standard of living of the freest people who have had the greatest opportunity in the history of the world. These conspirators have assured themselves control of the earnings and wealth of the workers and enabled them to levy a special tax for the privilege of working, for their own private enrichment, and for the further financing of the conspiracy. It has also given the conspirators a weapon with which to blackmail on an unlimited scale under the pretense of welfare, health funds, and pensions, and an endless array of devices which they promise you and you contribute to and your employer contributes to, and then when it comes time to retire, you find those funds have gone, disappeared, they're not there anymore. And so you go back to fall upon the old reliable Social Security, live in a hovel and eat cat food in your old age, until finally your children house you in the old folks' home, out of sight, out of mind, and there you wait to die. Like the knights of medieval times, the conspirator labor leaders represent that they are protecting labor while exploiting, despoiling, looting, and blackmailing the workers. These illuminists, ladies and gentlemen, carefully hide from their victims that the regimentation in unions is the initial stage of the conspiracy and establishes the framework of the organization that spells their actual enslavement when the ultimate goal of dictatorship is attained. And the people who are in these unions don't even understand that these unions began as secret societies, extensions of the lodges of the Illuminati, with their secret esoteric rites of initiation and all of the other trappings of the sacrifice in the grove and the worship of the moon and the sun and the stars. They don't even know their own history. Not even the most rabidly radical of the conspirators among the labor leaders dares deny that the workers of Soviet Russia were reduced to slavery through unionization, exactly as planned by Adam Weishaupt and his followers, Roosevelt and Marx. Roosevelt is the one who began the enslavement of the American people under socialism with his New Deal, promising people something for nothing. That these blithering idiots not understanding that the government doesn't have anything that it can give to the people that doesn't first come from the people and that isn't on the way from the people to the government and back to the people, robbed and depleted by the great bureaucracy which serves it. They would have been better off if they'd have kept their money in their own community. You see, Weishaupt was a master criminal of the type that appears at rare intervals in world history. You think Hitler was bad? You think Hitler had a perverted mind? You think Hitler was a dark genius in history? Study Adam Weishaupt. For it is Adam Weishaupt's order of the Illuminati under the Tool Society that brought Hitler to power in Germany. Hitler was just another puppet, ladies and gentlemen. Weishaupt, the master criminal, who alone can aspire to attaining mastery over the world by their utter ruthlessness and rule it as one world, their own world, the order of the Illuminati that he created, the great organization of criminals. They aspire to attaining mastery over the world by utter ruthlessness, to rule it as one world, their own world. And their allegiance, their loyalty is only to their order, only to their secret esoteric religion, only to the furtherance and completion of their great plan. He operated, Weishaupt operated as a prince of confidence men. He undertook to convince all elements of society that they would reap vast benefits, all that they desired from his conspiracy, which was cynically designed to betray them all. Workers who were to be enslaved, employers who were to be looted and ruined, rulers who were to be overthrown and executed, clergymen whose religions were to be wiped out. And all of it is happening today in front of your eyes, and you still cannot recognize that this is the culmination, the fruition of a plan brought about centuries ago. You think that it is accidental. Don't you think that if everything was happening by accident, that at least some of it would happen in our favor? By the cell type of organization of the conspiracy, Weishaupt undertook to prevent the segregated groups from learning that all of them were to be betrayed instead of being led to salvation. And today it doesn't even matter. Everybody knows that these people are lying to them, but they still promote them, still support them, still give them money, still vote for them, still put them into office. You can't tell me that there's anybody in the United States of America that doesn't understand that a politician, when he's talking to one group, is lying to them, and he goes down to the group that opposes that group he just finished talking to and tells them what they want to hear, and lies to them also. Everybody knows it. Nobody seems to care. The conspiracy was well designed to play upon the weaknesses, selfishness, greed, cupidity, and stupidity of the bulk of mankind, the great masses of sheeple that roam across the plains of the earth. All of them looking for a free handout. None of them understanding that nothing is free, and all of the handouts ultimately come from them to begin with. Government has no industry, has no way to make a nickel. All of the money that government has comes from your pockets. And whatever you get from the government has been looted first before you ever even get a penny of it. But you think you're getting something from nothing, something free, don't you? Well, that something free, ladies and gentlemen, costs you 6 months of labor to pay for every year. You have to work for 6 full months to pay the piper before you can start to work to put anything in your pocket. And I'm being conservative in my estimate because it's really a lot more once you add up all the interest and usury that you pay and the hidden taxes that you don't even know are there. It's more than 6 months. And to think You really believe that the Founding Fathers instigated a revolution so that they didn't have to pay a few pennies in tea tax. And that's not the reason for the revolution at all. It was because the Bank of England tried to take away our ability to create and control our own money. Robeson, in his Proofs of a Conspiracy, sums up Weishaupt's Illuminist program as follows, quote, "In the lodges, death was declared eternal sleep. Patriotism and loyalty were called narrow-minded prejudices incompatible with benevolence. They meant to abolish laws which protected property accumulated by long-continued and successful industry, and to prevent future accumulations, they intended to root out all religion and ordinary morality, to break the bonds of domestic life by destroying veneration for marriage vows, and by taking the education of children out of the hands of parents," end quote. All of this is happening right in front of your eyes, and you don't even understand because you don't study history. You don't read Robeson. You've never picked up a book by Goethe or Hegel or Kant. You never read Aristotle. And these things are not taught in our schools anymore because the next generation is not supposed to know it. They cannot be slaves if they understand what is being worked upon them. You see, these plans could only derive from a successful imposition on mankind of the organizational aspects of this conspiracy. This organization, modified to adapt it to the American conditions, are embodied in Clinton Roosevelt's book called Science of Government. Direct derivatives of such organization are the administrative phases of Weishaupt's conspiracy. They are, in effect, the following essential measures, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll give you those after this pause. To the Hour of the Time. I'm William Cooper. It was these same Illuminists, ladies and gentlemen, working through the conspiratorial organization and their henchmen in government who destroyed, debased the monetary system of the United States of America, who took us off of real money, gold and silver coin, and plunged us into the continual and constant and never-ending inflation of a paper counterfeit money system called Federal Reserve notes, which is not federal. There is no reserve. They are not notes by any legal definition of the term. And they're not dollars. The dollar is a unit of measurement. a specific unit of measurement for a specific weight and purity of silver coin, and that is what's called a dollar. Do you know why that our coins are sandwiched now? You see, our coins used to be real silver, and we used to have real silver dollars. And we used to have silver certificates which were backed by an equivalent value and weight and purity of silver coin in a vault somewhere, and no dollar could be issued without that backing. They were called silver certificates, and when they said $1, they meant it could be exchanged for $1 in real money. Not anymore, ladies and gentlemen. Now you have what looks like silver coins. You see, these people are very smart. They know that you don't know anything about money, so all they have to do is put up the illusion that you're dealing with money. And so that when they changed, when they debased our coinage, when they destroyed our money system and made our coins out of copper, they just coated it with a substance that appears to be silver on both sides, so that you wouldn't know the difference. But if you turn it on edge and look at it, you'll see that it is a copper coin. Why do they go to the trouble of putting a layer of silver on both sides if it's a copper coin? Why not just make copper coins? It would be cheaper. Well, folks, they don't want you to start asking questions. They don't want you to see that you're really not dealing with silver. And as long as it looks like it's silver, you will accept it as silver. Because for the most part, most people are ignorant, apathetic, and yes, even stupid. We have allowed ourselves to be robbed. Our nation is being stolen right from under our feet, and we all march around knowing that something's terribly wrong, but it can't happen here, and it could never happen to me. You need to learn about money. You need to call Swiss America Trading, ask for a copy of the free newsletter. Tell them that you're a listener to the Hour of the Time and you'll get red carpet treatment. Ask them how you can get your hands on some real money. And it's not expensive like you might think. You can set up a program where you send so much each month. Once they've accumulated X number of dollars, you get X number of coins, silver or gold, whatever you decide, whatever you choose, in whatever price range you want. But you need to do it. You must do it. For when all of this phoniness comes tumbling down around our ears, as it has always done in all instances that it has ever been propagated in history, if you don't have some real money to fall back on, you're doomed. You are just doomed. I'm sorry to have to say that to your face, but it is the truth. And if I could, I would reach through this microphone right out through the speaker of your radio and slap you upside the head to try to awaken you to the truth of what is happening to you in this country. Call 1-800-289-2646. That's 1-800-BUY-COIN. 1-800-289-2646, folks, and do it now. You'll be glad that you did. I can't guarantee you that gold and silver coins will still be non-confiscatable, non-reportable in the next 2 hours. way that they have adapted this conspiracy to American conditions in this country, ladies and gentlemen, are as follows. The overthrow of existent governments and their replacement by a dictatorship of the conspirators in the United States that's being done through regionalism. The states are in the process of disappearing and regional governments are taking over. They are not elected, they are appointed. They are, in fact, dictatorships. The next is looting individuals and nations of their wealth through such devices as violence and war, capital and income taxes, terrorism, confiscatory inheritance taxes, and eventually an end of private ownership of all property, except at the hands of the conspirators who would then own all property and usurp the power that such ownership would yield. Destruction of all religions, supplanting them with doctrines laid down by the conspirators, and the new religion will be secular humanism. You can hear everybody preaching this all over the dial, all over your television set every day. Listen to the man from the Crystal Palace in California, Reverend Schuller. Listen carefully to Paul and Jan Crouch and to Pat Robertson. Listen carefully to what they are telling you, to what they are teaching you. And listen carefully to the Pope, who has just announced to all of the Catholics of the world that the Vatican now accepts as truth the doctrine of biological evolution. I am making no judgment about what is right is wrong, or what is wrong is right, or who is right or who is wrong. I'm merely pointing out to you the method that this is being enacted upon the American people and upon the world. Destruction of the family and supplanting its discipline by that of the dictators. No more discipline in school, no more discipline by parents, and the family is being destroyed. Internationalism that was required by the conspirators' scheme for control over one world, involving the outlawing of patriotism and the fostering of treason, and that is really what is behind the attack upon American patriots and the militia. And it will get worse. And there will be worse incidents of terror in the heartland and all across the United States. And if they have to do it in order to disarm the American people and bring about their one-world totalitarian utopian socialist government, they will, they are prepared to, and they will detonate an atomic weapon in an American city. And they've been preparing you for it for many months now, telling you that atomic weapons have disappeared from the old Soviet armories, that terrorists are engaged in buying weapons-grade plutonium, that countries like Iraq have nuclear reactors and are engaged in the production of atomic bombs. It's all crap, ladies and gentlemen, and it's designed to make you believe that when this happens in an American city, that we must all disarm, give up the only power that the people have to protect their freedoms, and bow down to a universal world dictatorship in order to secure our selves from crime and drugs and terrorism. It is a manipulation on a monumental scale. And if Americans give up their arms, that will be the same hour that Americans become enslaved. It will be the day, the minute, the hour that will be marked in the history of the world that the world of human beings went backward into enslavement and serfdom, into a new dark age. These aspects of the conspiracy were first widely broadcast with the aid of Clinton Roosevelt and his illuminist associates by Heinrich Karl Marx, who as usual plagiarized them without even intimating that the Weishaupt luminous source was the place where he drug all this out. And almost every plank of the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx and Heinrich Engels has been implemented in the United States of America, except for the elimination of the middle class, the destruction of the economy, and the redistribution of wealth. Those are on the horizon. They will be here soon, very soon, I can assure you. You don't have to have a crystal ball to know it and be able to predict it. All you have to do is look at history, read their works, see who's in control, and understand the plan that they are following. They have never deviated from their plan, and they have used the exact same methods in every country that they have conquered all over the world. I can see it because I study history. I have been continually right in my predictions, and in fact, I can say with all honesty, and be 100% correct, that I am the only man in the world today who has been consistently accurate in every prediction that I have ever made except for one. I predicted the invasion of Panama within 2 weeks, ladies and gentlemen. And the only time that I've ever been wrong in a prediction was when I said Manuel Noriega would not be tried in an American court of law because it goes against the law of nations. You cannot. You don't have jurisdiction. You cannot go to a foreign country, kidnap the head of that country, bring it back to your country, and place them on trial. It's an act of war. And all officials of foreign governments have diplomatic immunity. But you see, when I made that prediction, I didn't understand that they were so far along in their plan that nation states are no longer sovereign. The illusion of diplomatic immunity is just that, an illusion. And that the world government is really already in place, and that the armed forces of the United States of America are the police force for that world order, for that world government. Ask Michael New. On July 16, 1782, at the Congress of Wilhelmsbad, an alliance was entered into by the Masonic Order and the Order of Illuminati, which has had tremendous repercussions in world history. The 2,000 lodges of the Order of Illuminati that had come into existence almost overnight joined the lodges of the Masonic Order in a worldwide organization that claimed over 3 million members. The Order of Illuminati started when the American Revolution was already underway, and therefore played no significant part in it. However, before the colonies were united, the Constitution adopted, and our republic established, 15 lodges of the Order of Illuminati were established in the 13 colonies. In 1785, the Columbian Lodge of the Order of Illuminati was established in New York City. With it were identified Governor DeWitt Clinton, and later Clinton Roosevelt, Charles A. Dana, and Horace Greeley. In 1786, there was established a lodge in Virginia, with which was identified Thomas Jefferson. When the Order of Illuminati was exposed as a revolutionary conspiracy in Bavaria, and Weishaupt was attacked, Jefferson, an ardent Illuminist, defended Weishaupt as an enthusiastic philanthropist, exactly as Weishaupt had dictated they were to be portrayed to the masses of sheeple. The Order of Illuminati, ladies and gentlemen, rapidly gained such influence in the colonies that its members were able to force the adoption of the Order's insignia as the Great Seal of the United States of America. It can be found on the left side of the reverse of the $1 Federal Reserve note and on the old silver certificates of the Treasury. Its eye mounted on a pyramid signifies the all-seeing eye that was symbolic of Illuminism's terrorist espionage system, the counterpart of the Gestapo, the OGPU, and the NKVD, the KGB, and of the other cruel and brutal spy nets that Weishaupt's disciples have since adopted. In this country, it's known as the Central Intelligence Agency. Placing the symbol and the Great Seal of the USA was a warning that the entire power of the Republic stood behind the very conspiracy that aimed to destroy it and threatened violence supported by terrorist espionage to those who opposed the conspirators. Thus, the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, on April the 19th, 1995. Nodus Ordo Seclorum announces the New Deal, the New Order of the Ages, the New World Order of Weishaupt's Illuminus. The date on the insignia and seal base of the pyramid, MDCCLXXVI, or 1776, is not meant as the date of the Declaration of Independence, which occurred in the same year, but is the date of the founding of Weishaupt's conspiracy, the Order of Illuminati. And if you understand the machinations of the Order of the Trapezoid, then you can take those Roman numerals and apply them to the trapezoidal system, as above, so below. You can trace them back to the foundation of the Knights Templar. And you can see their goal is the establishment, ladies and gentlemen, of the Antichrist upon the throne of the world. It is no secret to them. They believe the God of the Bible is the God of darkness, is a charlatan, an unjust, vindictive God, and that Lucifer is the savior of the human race. And that he set men free when he gave man the gift of intellect in the Garden of Eden. And through the use of this gift of intellect, man himself will become God, is the promise of Satan to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Whether you believe it or not, that's what these people believe, and you'd better understand what they believe, because they are in control and they are going to affect you with their beliefs, no matter what you think or care. How about that? Never, ladies and gentlemen, in the history of the world have revolutionary conspirators been more audacious or less suspected. And they're hiding nothing. It is all out in the open. All of it can be found by anyone who wants to look. But the sheep will stumble around with wool over their eyes, bumping into each other, waiting for the Judas goat to lead them into the pens to be sheared, and then up the ramp into the slaughterhouse. Bleeding all the time. Bah. Can't happen to me. In Bavaria, as has been stated, the Order of Illuminati was exposed as a nefarious conspiracy, and it was forced underground in 1785. It was actually disclosed by an act of divine intervention when a messenger galloping down a road with saddlebags full of dispatches from Weishaupt's Bavarian Illuminati to another lodge was struck by lightning and was killed and fell off of his horse. The people looked in the saddlebags and found the dispatches and turned them over to the government, who then exposed the conspiracy. In the United States, it continued to thrive and prosper in spite of numerous attacks from public platform and pulpit as a subversive counter-revolutionary conspiracy that aimed to destroy our government and Constitution. But that was the plan all along. You see, this country was really created, ladies and gentlemen, to give the common man a taste of freedom, something that the common man had never had in the history of the world, so as to topple the kings and queens from their thrones. And all of our founding fathers wrote about this. They warned us. They told us that the base nature of the human animal, human nature, would be our downfall. And that if we did not remain eternally vigilant and grasp our freedom and be prepared and willing to die for that freedom, using the tools that they gave us, including the second article and amendment to the Constitution, that we would lose our freedom and would be once again enslaved. They understood human nature, and they understood exactly what was going to happen, that we would backslide into a system of accepting benefits from Big Brother giving up our freedom in return for a guarantee of a modicum of security. And freedom from hunger. Among the attackers of the Illuminati in 1798 were Reverend Jedediah Morse, President Timothy Dwight of Yale University, now one of the subversive organizations in this country. And to the chagrin of many modern Harvardites, Harvard is the source of most of the traitors who are bringing this country down, Harvard and Yale, and some of the other Ivy League colleges. David Tappan, a Harvard officer, was vehement in his attack of Illuminism. In 1800, following some riots centering about activities of the order in New York City and elsewhere, many Illuminist lodges went underground or completely merged with Masonic lodges. And I hear people say, it's a myth, there's no such thing as the Illuminati, there never was, you just made it up, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, I got to tell you folks, if you will obtain a copy of the 1828 edition of Webster's Dictionary and turn to the page that has the definition of Illuminati on it, you will not just see a small paragraph. You'll see a couple of pages of definition of the different derivations of the term illumined, Illuminati, illuminist. And it will confirm to you that I did not make it up. It is historical fact. And if you can get some of the early editions of the Encyclopedia Britannica, you will find pages and pages on the Illuminati in there. But they're difficult to find. You see, somebody bought them up and destroyed them. But if you look hard enough, you can still find some of the earliest editions of the Encyclopedia Britannica around, which will clearly tell you that the Order of the Illuminati is not the imagination of William Cooper or anyone else. It is a real subversive organization bent upon the destruction of all existing governments, religions, and organizations of freedom in the world. The goal is to shackle the masses of people and establish a one-world totalitarian, utopian socialist order. It is a fact. And it is coming to America and not to your local theater. I'm William Cooper. You've been listening to The Hour of the Time. Good night. God bless you. And may God save this republic. My people perish for lack of knowledge. Seek ye the truth, and the truth shall make you free.